you've talked about how, especially for folks who don't experience misgendering, understanding why this is such a big deal can be really hard to grasp. And it's not, for the most part, I would imagine it's not necessarily that they don't care. I think a lot of people really care. And a big feature of that comes up in our work at Transfocus is that people really fear getting something wrong and hurting people. But at the
Oh, yeah.
same time, they might not really understand what makes this such a problem. And so where does that confusion come from? Just
Mm.
because you mentioned the way that we just go through the world sort of ascribing things to people, but
Mhm.
for cis people, that's normal. So
Right.
like it's usually accurate for a lot
Mhm.
of people.
Absolutely. That's true. Yeah, I would just kind of break down how misgendering happens because that might not be readily apparent for folks who have not experienced misgendering.
Mhm.
For there are cisgender folks who have experienced, and they will likely be well aware of this dynamic that I'm about to describe. And
Mhm.
like you said, it's not coming from a malicious place. People are not intending to kind of go about and hurt people, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's just that they may not be aware of what we do when we meet somebody new for the first time. This is primarily about people that we don't know. And
Mhm.
that's where, if it's a stranger or a new colleague or a new client, we're ascribing a lot of things.
Right.
So when we meet somebody new, we look at their expression, what kind of clothing they're wearing, their hairstyles. Is it like short or long hair? Are they wearing a dress? Are they wearing a tie? These are all like subliminal things that we're seeing and kind of real time categorizing based on what we see. Also, the shape of somebody's body as well, right? Sometimes if they have hips, curved chests, like there's all these things that we might not be aware that we're kind of taking in and then going,
Mhm.
because of these things, ergo, this person is a man. And then there's a second step of, okay, then this person uses he, him pronouns. We're
Mhm.
doing that in a split second. It's so fast. And of course, like you said, for probably a good percentage of the people, this determination or assumption is correct. And so that's why the practice has largely stayed intact for so long.
Right.
But, trans and non binary folks are more visible, more out, more living their lives as we ought to, usually
Mhm.
from the beginning. And we don't always map on to how society expects for our gender, or people are non-binary and we don't have like this societal automatic method for properly identifying or using pronouns or specific language for non-binary folks. So that's why the disproportionate amount of misgendering of non-binary folks, because typically they're just ascribed um, you know, he, him, or she, her pronouns automatically.
Mhm.
And so those are some of the dynamics at play for people we don't know. It's automatic. We don't think to engage the other person or listen to the other person to better understand how they would like to be addressed. And so it's a pretty ingrained process, one that is in a dynamic shift right now to
Mhm.
figure out how to be more inclusive